Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for hitting the like button. Today we have 5 great stories. If you enjoy them and haven't already, why don't you make this the video that you subscribe to the channel? And with that out of the way, let's begin, shall we? The first story is called Don't Need Me Anymore. Way back in 2008 I had a job that used me as a jack of all trades. The majority of my duties were to do some reporting and analysis for the owner/managers. Before I started, the in-house systems cranked out the reports in separate spreadsheets. These were emailed to the management team, who looked at them on actual printouts and correlated the data as best they could. They finally decided to hire someone to do that, me. And being the product of my generation that I am, I decided to just do it electronically through Excel by way of pivot tables and VLOOKUPs. This is what I knew and had access to. I was able to crank these reports out in a couple of hours, when it used to take them days to get half of what I had. But the important thing to know here is that I did this on my personal laptop, since the company was too cheap to invest in something as simple as Microsoft Office. I really didn't mind using my own laptop, and no one ever gave me grief for it. But I tried to convince the management team several times to just spend a little bit of money and get Microsoft Office. I would do demos of the different programs, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, etc. and everything they could do with it. They were always interested in it, but the owner was an absolute cheapskate when it came to spending money and always said no. He finally told me to just keep doing my job and never bring it up again. Yeah, okay, sure thing, mister. Well, as the story usually goes, I was let go due to the recession. The owner and his kids thought that all my knowledge was on my work computer, so they never had me train the guy inheriting my duties. A few months go by and I get a phone call from the cheapskate owner. He was offering to hire me back, part-time, to do my reporting and analysis tasks, but I'd have to do it at a 40% pay cut. I decided to bite my tongue instead of telling him to kick rocks. I just informed him I already had a full-time job and didn't want to give up my limited free time for that little of pay. Thanks, but no thanks. He called twice more and made the same offer, only for me to give the same answer. Finally, he asked me what it would take for me to do the job. Just trying to get rid of him forever, I told him it would need to be $150 an hour, which was 10 times what I made before being fired. And no matter what, I would need to be paid for a minimum of 15 hours a week. And that I would only be available Tuesday through Thursday. I thought surely no one in their right mind would accept such a ludicrous offer, right? He accepted, and I worked there an additional 10 months before he sold off the company and the new owners brought in their own analysts. The next story is called A Great Trip. A long time ago, in the late 90s, when I was a young IT consultant, I was sent out of state on an assignment. The sales manager decided to make all of the travel arrangements for me and my coworker. We were to stay at a Holiday Inn type hotel he booked for us. When I asked about daily expenses and a rental car, the sales manager told me that the hotel had a shuttle that would take us to the worksite and we could eat at the hotel restaurant. I tried to argue with him that I'd like to see the town or eat somewhere other than the hotel, but he wouldn't budge. He paid for the flights and the rooms and we could charge our meals to our room. Anything else would be paid for out of our own pockets. I was young and broke, so I didn't have much of a choice. I settled in on the expectation that I would have a boring week of hotel, work, hotel for 5 days. When my coworker and I arrived at the hotel, we were quite surprised to find that it wasn't at all a Holiday Inn type hotel, in spite of the fact that it had inn in the name. It was quite fancy and the rooms were comfortable and spacious. The hotel restaurant though was something my lower middle class self had never experienced. This was a restaurant that didn't print prices on the menu. In fact, I couldn't even pronounce half of the items listed. Meals were a set cost, regardless of what you ordered. Breakfast was $40 per person. Lunches and dinners were $60 per person. Knowing we had no car and no way to expense anything that wasn't charged to the room, my coworker and I dutifully ate 3 meals a day in the hotel restaurant. I had 5 days of filet mignon for breakfast and various gourmet lunches and dinners, while the hotel shuttle took us to and from the workplace all week. Now, years later, I'm not even sure I remember the city I was in or the work I was doing. But I remember a week of filet mignon for breakfast and the look in the eyes of the sales manager when he saw his credit card statement. That was a great trip. The third story is called 10 a week. This happened 20 plus years ago. I worked for a family business, repiping mobile homes. Because I wasn't married and didn't have kids, my buddy and I were the out-of-town crew. We traveled all over the state. A typical week would consist of 10 houses over 5 days, 2 a day, Monday to Friday. That was the requirement. 10 houses must be plumbed a week, no exceptions. We had a backlog of work. After my body got good, we could easily plumb 2 houses in 6 to 7 hours. The other crews typically took 10 hours for 2 houses. Since we were paid by the house, it didn't matter how fast or slow you were, so long as you did 10 houses a week. I've always hated working 5 days a week, so we decided each Monday morning to look at our work orders and rearrange the schedule. This way we could do 2 houses Monday, travel time getting to the first job, 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday, then 2 on Thursday, leaving us all day Friday to sleep in, explore whatever town we were in and enjoy a 3-day weekend. This went on for some time until my girlfriend wanted to go out of town for a 3-day weekend. So we finished Thursday, drive to the shop, dropped off my van and left for the weekend. Friday afternoon I get a call. It's the boss. Where are you? New York. He was obviously confused. New York? What do you mean? I mean, I'm currently in New York City. What's up? This was followed by lots of confused questions and snarky answers back and forth. Why did you cancel your Friday jobs? Is something wrong with your van? It's at the shop. I didn't cancel any jobs. The boss was now more confused by how I did 10 jobs in 4 days than how I was in New York without their knowledge. How did you do 10 jobs in 4 days? I decided it would be easiest to tell them I've been doing this for a while. He was freaking out. Absolute fury that I had been claiming my per diem and hotel while not working Fridays. Sunday night turns into a lecture of how I should be doing more for the business. I remind them we are the only crew that goes out of town. I'm told from here on out I'm doing 13 jobs a week. I ask if the other crews will be expected to do the same, considering they all work locally. Nope, just me. So I plan the compliance. I tell my cousin to schedule our next week in the city furthest away, about a 5-hour drive. We were normally only scheduled 9 jobs for that city, as the first day drive took up so much time. No need to remind anyone of that. The number is 13 this week, so we head out Monday. No changes, no tweaks, just do what's scheduled. Obviously we can't do 2 on Monday, half our day was spent driving. It didn't help that we weren't exactly rushing, so around 4 we call the office and tell them to call the customer. We won't be able to get to them. The customer is furious and asks when they will get rescheduled. No idea. Fast forward to Thursday. While finishing job 10, we call the office and inform them we are out of material. No pipe, no fittings, no wholesale house to go to, nothing. Please tell the boss to bring us more. I get a call from the boss. What happened? The van can only hold 10 jobs worth of material. That's the way you set it up. Can't you go to X and get more pipe? That's 2 hours away, each way. We'll have to cancel another job. Plus they charge double what we pay in town. Why didn't you say you couldn't do 13 jobs? I did. You said I was being lazy. I thought you meant you didn't want to do 13 jobs, not that the truck couldn't hold enough material. I didn't want to do 13. And you set the trucks up. It's your truck. The boss unhappily said, I'll meet you at your first job at 7 AM. Me, with a smile you can hear over the phone. See you in the morning, boss. An exhausted boss drops off pipe and fittings at 7. Hey, do you want to help knock out the Monday job we cancelled, or do you want us to stay another night? Hotel, per diem. We went back to 10 jobs a week after that. The next story is called Followed the Rules to the Letter. A long time ago I was sent to France for a week to undertake some technical work for a client. The way that expenses work was that hotel, food and travel was paid for by me. I then submitted an expense report and receipts to my employer who would refund my costs. My employer would then submit a copy of the receipts to the client who would reimburse my employer. Simple-ish. So this particular client had a couple of rules. They would not pay for any alcoholic drinks. I mean in France, really? And they would not reimburse their own employees for food when working from the office, even if they were in until midnight working on a project. The project manager at the client was a great guy, but applied the rules to the letter. So on my first day out there, he took me aside and said, I will not approve any receipt that has alcoholic drinks on it. Is that understood? Here's a list of my favorite local restaurants. Have a great stay. I was a little taken aback, but I wanted to have a good time, and I like good food. So I picked a restaurant from the list and went for dinner. When I arrived at the restaurant, I saw the menu. It was a fixed price for entree, main, dessert and a carafe of wine. I thought screw it. I was hungry and I'd pay for it out of my own pocket because the menu looked amazing. I got the receipt after the meal and it simply said, Le menu, 40 euros. No mention of wine or what I ate. Second night, I tried another restaurant on the list and the same thing happened. Okay, I think I can see a pattern with this list. And so the week went on, and I dined very well in addition to sampling a lot of local wine. When the final day came and the project was nearly done, we all, myself and the client's project team, fancied going out for lunch. But of course the client wouldn't pay for its employees' meals. Again, the manager took me to one side and said I cannot approve any of my team's expenses claims for lunch. However, let's say that you, on behalf of your employer, were to buy us all lunch as corporate hospitality, and then your employer sent that receipt to me as a project expense, I would be able to approve that. So I did just that, being careful to choose a restaurant from the list naturally. Needless to say that every expense claim got approved. I had a great time, the manager ended up with a very happy team and the rules were followed to the letter. The last story is called Common Sick. So I've been sick for the past few days. I have a fairly intensive cold that has left me with little sleep and some difficulties breathing when laying down. I figured I should get a doctor's note, so I went to urgent care, as the Minute Clinic wasn't taking walk-ins. The doctor says I have a viral infection in my upper sinuses and upper respiratory regions. Note the lack of a specific diagnosis because it comes into play later. I work as a delivery driver at a chain pizza place, which means I frequently handle food and could be a danger to customers if contagious. I send a text to my general manager, and he says, "You deserve a few extra days off anyways." I feel at this point that I can rest easy for a few days until I feel better, but in comes my district manager who wants to know when I will be able to come back into work. My doctor's note doesn't give a date by which I must come back in and just says until symptoms have passed. So I tell her I don't know. She says that she will be taking me off the schedule for next week and that I should call her to let her know when I can work again. I tell her that I will and go back to sleep. The DM calls again later that night to inform me that she has in fact changed her mind and is putting me back on the schedule. My sinuses are feeling a little better, but my sore throat and cough have gotten much worse. So I still feel that it would be irresponsible for me to go back and be a contagion at a restaurant. She must have been doing the schedule, because she informs me that if I do not come in, that she will have to cover my shifts for the week. And that we were delivering in the cold rain last night, so we probably are all going to get colds anyway. She says that since my note doesn't have a specific diagnosis on it, that it is not a big deal if I come in anyways. Now I would almost feel bad for her having to cover my shift, if it weren't for the fact that she was the one responsible for driving away all our employees by being such an insufferable jerk in the middle of a job market where every employer is desperate for workers. Cue malicious compliance. I decided that if she is going to try and make this my problem instead of hers, that I'm going to make it as much her problem as humanly possible. I stopped taking all my cough medicines and down a few sodas so that the acidic drink can ravage my larynx. I go to sleep that night coughing up a lung and a half, barely able to shut my eyes. I get up the next morning and receive a call from DM, checking to make sure I'm coming in today. I told her in my now hoarse, rattly voice that I could come in today, but that I would need her to give me a written, signed notice, stating that she was ordering me to ignore my doctor's note, saying that I was unfit to work. To my surprise, she agreed. My plan wasn't actually legal action, but rather to have both that note and doctors on hand while on deliveries. When a customer would ask the obviously sick, hacking, coughing delivery girl if she was alright, I would simply tell them no, and I have a doctor's note saying as much as well. But I also have this note from my manager saying to disregard the doctor's note and that I am fit to handle your food. As our store didn't require a mask for vaccinated employees, nobody but me was wearing a mask that day when I walked in with my doctor's note and inhaler. I guess the DM must have either wised up or talked to her higher ups, because she was singing a very different tune when I walked in the door. No longer is it, "Come in because I will have to cover your shifts if you don't." Instead it was, "Oh, I just need you to come in so I could ensure you had a doctor's note." I had already sent an image of it to the general manager. "You don't have to stay today, you should go home and get some rest." I, of course, reminded her that she would have to cover my shifts, to which she was now saying she didn't mind, and that I should drink some warm tea and honey for the nasty cough I was sporting. And now it's your time to shine. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories? I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.